Hello, beautiful people. This is Miss Deeds here, and welcome to Let Me Tell You. I thought it would be the perfect time to record as the sun is setting over there. I just wanted to say that I'm wearing these funky glasses because, I don't care what anybody thinks. These are serving main character energy, okay? These lenses are pure confidence over here, and the prescription is unapologetically me. You gotta get outside your comfort zone sometimes. That's where the real growth happens. I want to start off by saying that this is not just a podcast, it's a sanctuary for the kind of, thoughts that usually don't see the light of day. The ones that I've whispered to myself, I've spilt to the steering wheel as I was driving, or just, poured out mid-shower when no one was listening. But now they have a home, and this is a safe space, and everybody is welcome here. Today's episode is going to be a raw one. I am going to be talking about the red flags that I ignored in relationships, and it's not because I didn't see them. I just wanted the fantasy so bad. The potential is what I saw, not the pattern. And, I romanticized the idea of who they could become instead of accepting who they actually are. Let's be honest here. Some of us fall for potential like it's our full-time job. By the way, I am some of us. I became so emotionally invested in someone's future self rather than staying rooted in their present behavior. I would hold on to hope, thinking that I could fix it, or that I can just inspire someone to change. And maybe that this time it will be different. But, usually it doesn't happen that way. I used to joke that I just love amusement parks, because I didn't just ride the red flags like roller coasters. I built those motherfuckers, okay? I ignored the warning signs, I laid down those tracks, and I climbed in with no seatbelt, hoping that it would be worth it. I risked it for the biscuit. I confused emotional chaos with chemistry, and I thought passion was supposed to burn. Here's the truth that I learned the hard way. Real love doesn't feel like turbulence. It feels like landing. Let's talk about one major red flag that was pretty consistent in some of the relationships that I had, and that would be inconsistent communication. You know the cycle. They text you every day for a week or a couple weeks, you start to get hopeful. Then radio silence. Days go by, suddenly you're overthinking everything, questioning your worth, and replaying every single message. And then they come back saying, oh, sorry, I'm just bad at texting. But, inconsistency is a red flag. It's a full stop, baby. I had to learn that the hard way. So I want to teach you guys so you can learn from my mistakes. Psychologically, it creates what's called intermittent reinforcement. It's what makes gambling addictive. You don't know when the payout's coming, so you just keep playing. It's the same in these relationships. You cling to the highs and excuse the lows. And your nervous system stays in a loop of hope, anxiety, and reward. But you gotta remember that that's not love. That's addiction, literally. Your body is becoming addicted to this cycle. And that's what brings us to attachment theory again. I feel like I'm talking about attachment theory in almost all of my videos so far. I am anxiously attached, as you guys know. I crave closeness, reassurance, and emotional availability. And yet I've repeatedly found myself drawn to avoidant partners. And, people who fear intimacy and shut down and just run when things get real. It just creates this push-pull dynamic. The more distant they become, the more I chase, and the more I pursue, the more that they retreat. Does this sound familiar to anybody? Because it's my life. And it's, it's not just bad timing. It's a trauma reenactment. It's your nervous system trying to recreate a familiar wound, hoping that this time it will end differently. Spoiler, it never does. Okay, it never does. So why do we do this to ourselves? Why do we ignore the red flags? Because deep down, we're not just looking for love. We're looking for emotional safety. And we're chasing what we didn't get as children, to feel seen, valued, chosen. We think that if we love someone enough, that finally that they'll love us the way that we need. But here's what I've learned. You cannot love someone's wounds into healing. And you cannot bleed out for someone who won't even pick up a band-aid for themselves. You can't pour your soul into a crack that keeps splitting. Sure, if I have mentioned this before, I'm pretty sure I have, that cognitive dissonance is when your heart and mind hold two truths at once. They feel like they're the one, and then they treat me like I'm disposable. So as you can see, those are two conflicting thoughts that you're holding. And we start justifying, we explain their behavior away, and we tell ourselves they're just going through something, or they'll come around. They just need to feel safe enough to love me. But here's the dangerous part, is that we start gaslighting ourselves. And we convince ourselves that the red flags aren't that red. We repaint them as pink, or, maybe even just romantic. We turn gut feelings into guilt, and that's how we lose ourselves. Eventually, the cycle crashes. They ghost, they pull away. They say, it's not you, it's me. And you're left holding onto the pieces of something that never even had a foundation. You wonder what you did wrong. You think that if you were just a little less or a little more, maybe they would have stayed. But listen, you weren't too much. They were too little, okay? And they never had the capacity to meet you where you were. Period. I said what I said. And there's this freaking mosquito that keeps flying around my head here. Here's the hard truth. The cycle doesn't break on its own. You have to decide to break it. You have to choose your peace over your potential, your healing over their chaos, yourself over your patterns. I had to ask myself, why am I so drawn to emotionally unavailable people? But now I know better. Love isn't something that you chase. It's something that you receive. So how I'm healing and how you guys can too. I am now learning that slowness is safety, and consistency is desirable, and availability is attractive. I'm unlearning urgency. I'm detangling my worth from someone else's ability to stay. I'm building a relationship with myself that doesn't require chasing, fixing, or proving. And that's what I want for you too. You don't have to keep auditioning for love. You don't have to dim yourself for someone who won't put on sunglasses. You don't have to keep rewriting the same story and hoping for a different ending. That's what they call insanity, right? You are hoping for a different outcome, but you keep repeating the same things. It's not gonna work. So where did I ignore red flags because I wanted the potential so badly? Everywhere. And for too long, that is. But now I see the flags and I listen to my body. I honor my intuition. And everybody needs to practice that because it's so important. Your body knows before your mind. And, I choose people who choose me back and, fully, consistently, and without confusion. Because love shouldn't feel like a test. It should feel like truth. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. And if this episode resonated, I know you're not alone. Thank you. Oh, there's a mosquito right on my forehead. Please get away now, dude. Thank you all for being here today. It's been a blast. If this episode resonated, know that you are not alone, okay? You're not broken, you're becoming. I think that's my slogan, is you're not broken, you're becoming. Because I say that every time, and it's true. I want to show you guys the sunset. It's not really setting yet, but it's getting there. But until next time, everybody, protect your peace, and remember, your heart is worth choosing. thanks for hanging out with me today. You know, if anybody has any ideas for any future videos, or something just sparked a thought for you or tugged at your heart, that's why I'm here, you know? Healing is not linear and you do not have to do it alone. Until next time, take care of your heart, speak gently to your minds, and remember, you are worthy. As you are. You don't have to change for anybody else, okay? This is Miss Deeds, and I will talk to you soon on Let Me Tell You. Have an amazing night filled with abundance, peace, and love.